Ever walk past like a massive new building going up in your neighborhood and wonder like, how on earth did this thing get here?
Right.
Yeah, it seems like these projects just kind of pop up out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But trust me, there's a whole lot that happens behind the scenes before the first bulldozer rolls in.
Oh, absolutely.
And
It's a
today,
fascinating process.
it really is. And today's deep dive takes us straight to the source of all that behind the scenes action.
That's right.
We are talking NYC City Council meeting minutes.
We're going full-on detective mode, folks, using these minutes as our magnifying glass to see how decisions that shape the city get made.
Exactly. And specifically, we're diving into the minutes from January 18th, 2024. So a new year, a fresh batch of council members.
Are ready to leave your mark on the city?
Exactly. It's like the first act in this grand play of, NYC development.
And like any good play, there's drama, intrigue, maybe even a few plot twists. We'll unpack it all.
So picture this, you're in those like grand city hall chambers, right?
Yeah.
The air is buzzing with anticipation, the council members are all finding their seats, and the first order of business, roll call.
It might seem a little dry at first, like, oh, roll call.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's more than just names on a list.
Exactly. So explain it to me like I'm a newly elected council member who maybe skipped a few too many civics classes.
Essentially, roll call determines if a quorum is present.
A quorum. Okay, now we're getting to the good stuff. What is a quorum?
So a quorum is basically the minimum number of council members that have to be there, present, for any decision they make during that meeting to actually be legally binding. Think of it like the minimum number of players you need on a basketball team for the game to officially count.
Okay, I like that analogy. So looking at the minutes for this particular meeting, did we have a full roster? Was everybody there for this game?
Almost.
Yeah.
Out of 51 council members, 50 were present. Pretty impressive turnout, actually.
Wow.
Which suggests that this meeting's agenda was especially important, right? Something big was going down.
Oh, there's already some intrigue. There's 50 out of 51 people there.
Exactly.
And who was the one MIA council member?
So the minutes show that Tiffany Cabán was absent for this meeting.
Tiffany Crump. Okay. Any theories? Was she stuck in traffic? Did she, have a cold maybe?
We can only speculate.
Mm-hmm.
But what's interesting is that, Cabán's known for her, her stance on development, right?
What?
Particularly when it comes to affordable housing.
Okay.
So even her absence, while probably totally normal, makes you think.
Yeah.
Were there going to be crucial votes on that very issue?
It makes you think. Okay, so we've got a near full house, a missing council member, and a sense that things are about to get interesting.
Absolutely.
So after the roll call, what happens next?
Well, after the usual, messages from the mayor, which, let's be honest, tend to be more ceremonial than groundbreaking,
Yeah.
we get to the really juicy stuff.
Oh, okay.
The land use call-ups.
Land use call-ups. Okay, tell me more. What is that?
Yeah, this is where the city council really gets to exercise some serious power.
Oh.
See, before any development project can even be considered for approval, it has to go through the Department of City Planning.
Right.
But the council, through these land use call-ups, can basically hit the pause button on any project and be like, hold on, we need to take a closer look at this.
So it's like a check and balance on the Department of City Planning, right?
Exactly.
The council gets to be like, we're the elected representatives here, and we have some thoughts on how the city should grow.
They're the ones who answered directly to the people.
And it sounds like there were a few projects in particular that they really wanted to dig into during this meeting.
Well, absolutely.
So what were some of the projects on their radar?
Well, three kind of caught my eye, actually, each one kind of representing a different borough and a different, angle of this whole development game. First up, we've got LU 0003-2024, which is a proposed rezoning on 3rd Avenue in Manhattan.
Okay, so we're talking prime real estate here.
Oh, absolutely.
Any changes there are going to send ripples throughout the entire city's economy.
Huge ripples.
Definitely a big game.
Big stakes. And then from Manhattan, we swing over to Brooklyn for LU 0006-2024, which involves proposed changes to a site on Pacific Street.
Right.
And anyone who's been even casually following the Brooklyn real estate scene knows that Pacific Street has been a hotbed for new development. So what's going on over there? So this project most likely stirred up some serious debate about how to balance all this, new construction with protecting, like what makes the neighborhood special, right?
Protecting that existing character, yeah.
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, and then last but not least, we head over to Queens,
That's right.
where LU 0009-2024 involved a special permit for a project on 91st Avenue. Now, this one, like on the surface, it might seem a little less, glamorous
Right.
than the bright lights of Manhattan or, those really trendy areas of Brooklyn. But it just goes to show you how these zoning decisions touch every single corner of the city.
Every single corner. They might seem like little things, but these zoning decisions
Right.
have these ripple effects, right?
Yeah.
It's all connected.
Absolutely.
And those connections, they matter. They
Mm.
impact people's lives. They really
In
do.
very real ways.
Absolutely.
So it's not just about, which neighborhoods get the fancy new buildings.
Right.
It's about fairness. It's about opportunity. Who gets to decide what our neighborhoods look like?
Exactly. So we've got 3rd Avenue in Manhattan, Pacific Street in Brooklyn, 91st Avenue in Queens,
3 very different parts of the city.
all caught up in these, like, zoning decisions.
Exactly.
It sounds like this meeting was, like, a total microcosm of the, like, bigger picture of the
Absolutely.
forces that are shaping this city. So
Forces like, who has a voice and who doesn't.
exactly.
Who gets listened to, whose vision wins out in the end.
It's all connected.
It is. And those connections that often hidden in plain sight. But that's why we're here, right?
Exactly. Got to read between the lines a little bit. Now,
Speaking of reading between the lines, let's talk about a topic that's like often at the very heart of these development battles. Zoning.
zoning. Sounds kind of boring, right?
I'll be honest.
A little bit, yeah.
I've always been a little bit fuzzy on the specifics of zoning. It's just one of those things where it's like, yeah, zoning, I know that's a thing,
Right, it's there.
but I never really fully grasped it.
It's like the rule book for how the city gets built.
Okay.
And like any rule book, it can be a little dense. But the thing is, those rules, they determine whether you get a park or a parking lot,
Oh, wow.
a skyscraper or a community garden.
That's a big deal.
It's a huge deal. And these city council meetings, they're where those rules get made and remade.
I'm starting to realize, like, how important this is.
It's huge. And the thing is, it's not always a fair fight. You've got developers with deep pockets,
Right.
and they've got their own set of priorities.
Just like those zoning maps that we've all seen, right? With the different colors and the little, like, letters and abbreviations.
Yes. Those maps, they're basically the blueprints for the future of the city.
Okay.
They show you what can be built where and how high and how dense.
Yeah.
They're incredibly powerful documents.
And when the council is talking about changing the zoning, they're essentially talking about, like, redrawing those blueprints.
Exactly.
Which is,
And that's where things can get really interesting because you've got
Yeah.
all these different interests vying for their piece of the pie.
right. You've got the developers who want to build.
Right.
You've got the residents who are, like, trying to protect.
Absolutely. Their neighborhoods, their communities.
They don't want to be pushed out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you've got the city council right in the middle trying to like balance
Trying to find that sweet spot.
on that balance. Yeah.
It's a tough job.
It sounds like it. So for this meeting, the January 18th meeting, what were like the main zoning issues that they were tackling?
So get this. Almost every single bill that was introduced during this meeting was about changing the zoning in some way.
Wow. So this new council came in ready to like make their mark.
Oh, yeah. They came in swinging, and some of the proposed changes were pretty interesting.
Really? Like what?
Well, one that stood out to me was LU 0001-2024, a rezoning proposal for, wait for it, a bowling alley in Whitestone, Queens.
A bowling alley.
Yeah, a bowling alley.
Okay, that is not something you see every day.
Not every in city council meeting minutes.
It makes you wonder, right? Is this like a sign of a bowling resurgence?
Yeah.
Are bowling alleys about to be the next big thing?
Or maybe some developers trying to, like, capitalize on that nostalgia factor.
Right. Like, remember bowling alleys? Those were fun.
Exactly.
But it just goes to show you, these zoning changes, they can involve all sorts of unexpected properties and businesses.
And, like, on the surface, a bowling alley, it doesn't sound like the most exciting thing.
Right.
But it's these little details, right?
Absolutely.
That make these meeting minutes so much more than just, like, a bunch of boring legal jargon.
They're little windows into the life of the city.
Yeah.
That changes the trends, the struggles.
Okay, so we've got our bowling alley in Queens. Anything else?
Oh, yeah. And then on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, we have LU 0012-2024, a project on Kent Avenue in Brooklyn.
Okay, so Kent Avenue, now we're talking, like, prime real estate.
Waterfront views, trendy restaurants, you name it.
any kind of development on that strip is going to turn heads.
Oh, absolutely.
So the fact that this project is on the council's agenda for zoning changes means that it's probably a pretty big deal.
It's a big deal. We're probably talking high-profile developers, lots of money at stake, and the potential to really change the feel of that whole neighborhood.
So we've got our bowling alley in Queens.
Right.
We've got our high-stakes development project in Brooklyn. Both of them caught up in these zoning changes. It sounds like this meeting really was a perfect example of how the big picture plays out in these like smaller hyper-local decisions.
And those hyper-local decisions, they add up.
You know, it's really interesting to me how these zoning decisions, which like most people probably think are super technical and kind of boring,
Right.
actually tell us so much about like the city's character.
Absolutely.
Like what we value, you know, what kind of city we're trying to build.
Yeah, it's not just about, like, the physical buildings themselves. It's about, like, whose vision of the city actually gets built, you know?
Yeah, and whose vision gets like left out of the equation.
Exactly.
Which I guess is why it's so important to pay attention to these city council meetings and like really dig into those minutes.
Oh, absolutely. They might seem dry at first glance.
Yeah, exactly.
But they're not just bureaucratic paperwork. These are the battlegrounds where they're, like, literally fighting to the future of the city.
block by
Zoning code by zoning code.
Exactly. So for someone listening to this who maybe has never like thought twice about going to a city council meeting or reading those minutes,
Right.
what's like the one big takeaway? What should they like remember from all of this?
So think about it this way. Next time you're walking down the street, just take a look around. That new high-rise that's maybe, like, blocking your view of the park,
Yeah.
or that cute little, like, mom-and-pop shop that got replaced by a big chain store,
Right.
those changes, they didn't just happen randomly. They're the result of decisions that were made in large part in those city council meetings that we've been talking about.
Wow.
It's true.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that even though like City Hall can feel very far away,
Oh, for sure.
its decisions actually affect us every single day.
Oh, absolutely. And you know what? The more we understand how those decisions are being made, the more we can actually do something about it.
Yeah.
Make our voices heard.
Absolutely.
Shape the future of the city that we actually want to live in.
So we went from roll call to rezoning, from bowling alleys in Queens to like waterfront property in Brooklyn.
And we just scratched the surface.
Exactly. We just like dipped our toes into the world of NYC City Council meeting minutes.
There's so much more where that came from.
There really is, but hopefully this deep dive has like inspired you to go out there and
Yeah.
do a little digging of your own.
It's your city.
Yeah.
Get involved.